morning to all. I am Dr. Dhondiba, Assistant Professor of Chemistry, Government First Grade College, KR from Bangalore. Today I am going to discuss about 15th session of Biochemistry, which is the Chemistry 8th, belong to proteins of 6th semester BSc. In this session, I am going to discuss about classification of the proteins based on the shape, then composition, and biological functions. In biological functions, they are mentioned in the syllabus: enzymes, hormones, transport agents, structural, and antibodies with examples. These are the present in the syllabus, and these I have to discuss one by one. And this is the last session from that is the protein chapter. Now come to that is the one by one. First one is classification of the proteins. Proteins are classified into different ways. First one is goes to that is based on the shape. Proteins are classified into following categories. First category goes to fibrous proteins. Now those proteins which are elongated, rod-like, tough, and insoluble in water are called fibrous proteins. Due to having a shape that is based on the shape and size, the fibrous proteins are classified in that is a proteins are classified as a fibrous protein. Fibrous protein having a it should be elongated, long that is a rod-like structure, thread-like structure, and it will be insoluble in water. And such type of the proteins are called as a fibrous proteins. Therefore, simply we say that is a fibrous proteins are those proteins which are elongated, rod-like, tough, and insoluble in water are called as fibrous proteins. These proteins have structural and protective functions. These proteins having a structural protein and protective functions. Usually they have a repetitive structure which is assembled into a threads or cables. Means these proteins are repeatedly joined together a long life, and it becomes a threads or cable-like structure, and these are the it belongs to that is the fibrous proteins. Now come to that is the example for this. First example goes to that is the alpha keratin. Alpha keratin, it is present in the hair and nails. Hairs are nothing but you already know the hairs. It is a long elongated structure. It contains that is it is insoluble in water, and rod-like structure will be there. And that is and nails also it having a long elongated, or that is it having a length. It is insoluble in water. It is just there is a seed-like structure will be there, and therefore it is belong to that is the example for that is a that is a keratin. Keratin is present in that is the hair and nails. And fibroin, it is present in the silk, because silk is the white in color, and it is again a long thread-like structure, and therefore we say that it is a fibroin. Again, collagen is nothing but it is present in the tendons, skin, bones, and teeth. These are all are present in the form of as a collagen, and it is belongs to that is the fibrous proteins. Now coming to that is the second classification of that is the proteins based on the shape. That is the globular proteins. Global means it is nothing but it is a spherical shape. It is a ball-like shape. It is a spherical, round shape. Therefore, we say that is those proteins which are compact. It is a compact, roughly spherical molecules. Compact and roughly spherical molecules, and soluble in water. Soluble in water are called globular proteins. These proteins have tightly folded chains. These proteins have tightly folded chains with largely hydrophobic interiors and hydrophilic surfaces. Therefore, here these globular proteins, it is spherical. Spherical means one is the because of it is a ball-like face, or that is spherical. The interior will be anything but a hydrophobic interior, or it is like a water heating or insoluble in water like that. No, that hydrophobic character or non-polar character, non-polar end will be present at the inside, and on the surface the polar end will be present on the surfaces. That is the hydrophilic. Therefore, both there is a ends will be there when it is folded in the form of circular, or there is a spherical inside. Inside interior will be nothing but there is a non-polar end, and exterior or outside to the surface it is a that is a polar surface, that is a hydrophilic surfaces. They have a clefts on a surface that bind other components with a high degree of specificity. When the that is because of it is a high nature, it clips, it can be bind the other components, it having a specificity will be increases. This is the about that is the globular proteins. Example, there is a enzymes. Enzymes in which amylase, pepsin, trypsin, antibodies. These are the example for that is a globular proteins. Because the outer surface will be there, that having a active centers will be there. Active centers will be there, and that can be substance can be attacked at a particular position, and therefore it gives that is this like structure we will get, that is a globular proteins. Globular proteins, and here enzymes it is nothing but it is biological catalyst due to having a surface, a clips on the surface, and it has ability to bind the substrate molecule at particular specific area, that is the active centers, and the reaction will be takes place, and therefore we can answer that is the globular proteins. Enzymes, amylase, pepsin, trypsin, and also antibodies, it belongs to that is a globular proteins. Now next coming to that is third one, the next classification. The based on the side there are only two classification. One is nothing but fibrous protein, and the second one is globular proteins. Now come to that is based on the composition. What are the content present? What they made up? By what are the constituents present? The proteins are classified into following category. Therefore, based on the composition, proteins are classified into following types. First type goes to that is simple proteins. Like this is the classification. This type of the classification is similar to that is the lipids. Lipids. Okay, you already studied that is the lipids. No, that is in the lipids. The lipids are classified into same simple, then that is conjugated, simple and derived, no, and complex. That is that like no. Here the proteins are classified into three category. One is called as simple proteins. Those proteins, how do you define that simple proteins? Those proteins which are made up of only amino acids, only amino acid sequence, or those proteins which are made up of only amino acids. It contains only amino acid, but are when they dissolve in water on hydrolysis of anything which yields only amino acids, such compounds are that is a protein called that is a simple proteins. We say that is a like a class, that is the definition of that is the carbohydrates. No, the polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones are that is a carbohydrates, or any compound which on hydrolysis which use that is a polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketone called that is a carbohydrates. Like that same here, those proteins which are made that is made up of only alpha amino acids, or when they dissolve in water or on hydrolysis, they produce only alpha amino acids. These are called as simple proteins. And example, I have only two examples mentioned. One is that is the insulin, and second one is hormones. These are the example for that is the simple proteins. The insulins, whatever may be, it is made up of only amino acids. When they dissolve in hydrolysis, it gives only amino acids. Hormones also, it having a particular hormones, that is amino acids building, joining, and to form that is the hormones. On hydrolysis, it gives that is breaking, it gives only amino acids, alpha amino acids. Now second type of the this classification, that is the conjugated proteins. Conjugated proteins. Those proteins which are made up of alpha amino acids and non-amino acids. Here it contains amino acids always there. Along with there is a non-amino acid. That is a non-amino acid is the part of prosthetic group. Prosthetic group. Non-protein part. Non-protein part, or that is the non-amino acid part is present along with that is a protein, that is called as a conjugated proteins. Therefore, those proteins which are made up of using alpha amino acids and non-amino acids, or non-amino acids are also called as a prosthetic group. Prosthetic group. These are obtained on complete hydrolysis. These actually obtained on the complete hydrolysis of that is the conjugated proteins. These are called as a conjugated proteins. Therefore, similar to above definition, we say that is those proteins which are made up of only alpha amino acids and non-amino acids. Non-amino acid is a part of the prosthetic group. These are the made up of using that protein is called as a conjugated protein. Or any protein when on hydrolysis which gives these, that is the alpha amino acid and non-amino acid or prosthetic group will be produced, and such that is the proteins are called as a conjugated proteins. Conjugated proteins. Now, example for that conjugated proteins are so many examples will be there. Again, they are sub-classified into different way based on that is the proteins, that is prosthetic group. Prosthetic group, and that is they are classified into various types. That is first classification goes to that is glycoproteins. In glycoproteins, in which what happen here, protein part will be there, amino acid will be there, along with that is prosthetic group. That is prosthetic group is very important. That is the amino group. Non-amino group will be here carbohydrate. Now glycoprotein, it contains that is the amino acids, along with that is the carbohydrate molecule or carbohydrate group will be there, and such that is the proteins are called as glycoproteins. And example for this is nothing but antibodies. Antibodies, and that is a music of that is a mucin of saliva. Mucin of saliva. These are the example for that is the glycoproteins. Glycoproteins, it is a conjugated protein in which one part is the amino acid, along with that is carbohydrate. Carbohydrate molecule will be there, and therefore it is called as a glycoprotein. Next, second class, that is a subclass, is nothing but hemoprotein. Hemoprotein. Hemo means hemoglobin. Hemo is nothing but it is a non-prosthetic group. It is a non-amino group. Non-amino group other than amino group, and along with amino group there is a heme. No, heme group is present, and therefore it is called as a hemoprotein. Heme means it is a non-group. There is a amino group. Glyco there usually glyco is that is other than amino group. Along with that is a protein. Here heme is the other part, non-amino part, and that is present along with protein, that is called as a hemoprotein. And there is a hemoglobin as an example. Globin is nothing but amino acid, and here usually heme is nothing but non-amino part or prosthetic group. Myoglobin, then cytochromes, these are the examples of that is a hemoprotein. Then lipoprotein. Lipoprotein, it having a lipid. That is the lipo means it is a lipid as a non-prosthetic group. That is prosthetic group or non-amino group along with protein. And example for this nothing but a very low density lipoprotein, very low density lipoprotein, and high density lipoprotein. These are actually, it is belong to that is a cholesterol. Cholesterol is also belong to that is a lipoprotein, and in which these are the examples. Now next, metalloprotein. Metalloprotein, it is contained that is a prosthetic group will be a metal ion, any metal ion. Now example here, alcohol dehydrogenase. Alcohol dehydrogenase, it contains a That is a zinc plus 2 ion. Zinc plus 2 ion is the, that is a metal ion. Along with that is a protein, that is a protein part, alcohol dehydrogenase, and this is called as a metalloprotein. Then another example, there is a another class is nothing but nucleoprotein. Nucleoprotein is nothing but nucleus. Nucleic acid is the non-amino group. It is the prosthetic group, and the example for this nothing but chromatin. Chromatin present in the DNA, and ribosomes present in the RNA, or viruses, etc. These are the example for that is the conjugated proteins. Then phosphoproteins. Phosphoproteins, the phosphate group as a that is a prosthetic group. It is a non-amino group, and remaining part is nothing but amino, that is a amino groups. And example is nothing but casein of milk. Casein of milk is nothing but example for that is a phosphoprotein. And flavoprotein. Flavoprotein, it is a FAD, or that is FMN coenzymes. That is a FMN means flavin adenine dinucleotide, and there is a flavin mononucleotide. This there is a coenzymes. These are the present. These are the non-prosthetic group, and other will be a nothing but protein. Example is nothing but succinate dehydrogenase, NADH. NADH, that is a nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide in the reduced form, dehydrogenase. These are the example and classification of that is a sub-classification of that is a conjugated proteins. Now coming to that is a third class of that is a proteins based on that is a composition, that is a derived protein. Now here derived protein is nothing but it is not actually class of that is protein. Each is a derived, that is made up of that is simple protein as well as conjugated protein, and these are called as a derived. These are obtained by from the particular already available in the protein. From that it is extracted, that is called as a derived protein. Now here what is the definition of this derived proteins means those proteins which are made up of using both simple protein and conjugated protein. Those proteins which are made up of that is a simple protein and conjugated protein are called that is a derived protein. Are these proteins obtained? Those proteins which are obtained on complete hydrolysis called that is a derived proteins. Simple, you say that is a those proteins which on complete hydrolysis to form that is a derived proteins, are those proteins which are made up of that is a simple proteins and conjugated proteins are called that is a derived proteins. Example for this denatured proteins. The natural that is a denatured means activity protein. The biological activity or structure will be a disturbed by heating or whatever may be, and that is the biological property is the lost, that is called as a denatured proteins. Another example proteose, peptones. These are the example for that is the derived proteins. Along with that is secondary derived proteins are formed by the progressive hydrolysis of peptide bonds. Progressive hydrolysis, that is the more number of hydrolysis bond contains that is the protein. No, that can be hydrolysis. It gives that is a protein that is called as a derived proteins. The secondary derived proteins are formed and obtained by that is the progressive hydrolysis of peptide bonds, and these are the based on that is the classification of composition. Based on the composition of that is the proteins. Proteins are classified into that is the three types. One is simple protein, conjugated protein, and derived protein. I have explained. Now last that is another one is the based on the biological functions. Based on the biological functions, proteins are classified into following categories. First goes to that is the enzymes. Enzymes protein. It is also called as a catalytic proteins. Catalytic enzymes are also called as a catalytic proteins. These proteins are highly specialized proteins. These proteins have a special character which possesses a catalytic activity. It accelerates the metabolic activity, or it is retarded the metabolic activity. It slow down the rate of the reaction in metabolism in living organism. Therefore, these are the special property, highly specialized protein. These enzymes are highly specialized protein. It possesses a catalytic property. All chemical reactions occurring in the cells are catalyzed by enzymes. Any cell, whatever may be cells, cell reactions will be in basic unit of the microorganism is nothing but cell. The reactions will be takes or occur there, that will be catalyzed or initiated by using enzymes only. Since enzymes are highly specific in reactions, they catalyze a very large number of enzymes present in the cell. Large number of enzymes present in the cell. These are the enzymes. These are the about that is based on the biological activity. They are that is proteins are classified into first one is enzyme. Second one is hormones. Hormones is also called as a regulatory proteins. Regulatory proteins. Like enzymes are as a catalytic proteins. Here hormones are nothing but regulatory proteins. These proteins help in the regulation of cellular activity. Cellular activity. Here those proteins which are regulate, it is balance, it make there is a regulation control over the cellular activity called that is a hormones. Hormones, and example for this, insulin is a hormone which regulate the glucose metabolism. Insulin is the example. Insulin is the hormone which is regulate the glucose metabolism. Level of the it control that is a level of glucose in metabolism. Next, tropic hormones, tropic hormones which secretes the pituitary gland. That is, it secretes the pituitary glands. Now, ACTH and THS, these are the example for that is it is the glands. These are the tropic hormones which are secretes, and therefore these are the two. That is the one is hormones and another one is enzymes, and third one is goes to that is the transport agents. Transport agents, these proteins are bind to specific molecules and transport them from one tissue to another. Here those proteins which having a binding capacity with the other. For example, it bind the oxygen, it carry the oxygen from one part to other, from one that is the muscle to another muscle, from lungs to various part or various part of the tissue, or various that is the parts of the body that can be transferred. Therefore, transport agents is nothing but these proteins binds to specific molecules and transport them and to reaches or supply to the tissue from one to another. It is called as a transport agents. Example, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the protein which is bind the oxygen binding protein. Hemoglobin is the oxygen binding protein of the red blood cells which binds oxygen as a red blood passes through the lungs and carries to the tissues. Now when we are inhale the oxygen, that will be a bind by that is a hemoglobin, and that carries from that is the lungs to tissue or various parts of the body. The blood plasma contains that is the lipoproteins which binds the lipid and carry them to the other organs. Plasma membrane, intracellular membrane. These are all are example for that is a transport agents. The first one is hemoglobin, which that is carry the oxygen, and it is a that is a take away from the carry the oxygen from lungs to various parts of the body, and where the deoxidation will be takes place, and the carbon dioxide again carry the back and bring to the that is the lungs, and this respiration it is a process will be takes place that is by using a hemoglobin as a transport agent. Now similarly, the blood plasma contains lipoproteins, and these lipoproteins bind the lipid and carry them from that is the different parts. From lipoproteins means cholesterol, from liver to that is the different parts of the muscle, that is bad cholesterol and that is good cholesterol will be there, and that will be a that is supply, and this is carry from that is the liver to different part, and from different part towards the liver, that will be takes place by using a lipoprotein as the another that is the proteins. Plasma membrane also will be there. The plasma membrane, again intracellular membranes. These are the examples for that is transport agents. Next, fourth classification of these proteins. These proteins which acquires definite shape and size. It acquires that is a definite shape and sizes, like similar to that is a fibrous proteins. No, these structural proteins, because of it having a acquires a definite shape and size. Therefore, it is having a structure. It gives that is a structure of particular organism due to having a protein, because the protein is the first molecule present in the body, that is a major, and that is a main first that is a compound, first that is constituents present in the body or living organism or in the animal body. It makes that is a structure of that body. Now coming to here, the example is nothing but fibrous proteins, collagen, which has a very high tensile strength. Collagen having a high tensile strength due to presence of the tendon and cartilage. Tendon and cartilage, these are having a fibrous proteins, and due to having a high tensile strength, therefore the cartilage is nothing but it is present in the wings, no, the bird's wings. They having a that is tendons also, it is present in the birds, there is a wings, and they can be having a high strength, they can be make, and they help to that is the wings are help to that is a fly into the that is the atmosphere or in the air. Second one is leather is almost pure collagen. It is a leather. Leather, there is a structure it gives, that is the outermost that is surface of the animal body is called as a leather, and leather is the it is a protective one. It is pure collagen, and it is a protect from sun, and that is a from heat, and that is a cold. Next, ligaments. Ligaments contains that is the elastin. Ligament, it is usually present in the connective tissues. Connective tissues, joint, no, two parts of the body joined together. When they can be folding, and that is a stretching will be there due to the presence of that is the ligaments. Ligaments is the that is a protein present there. Then only it is a stretching and folding will be possible. Otherwise, that protein is suppose it is destroyed, or there is a vanished are not there, then stretching and bending is not takes place. That some persons know they do not having a proper that is the maintenance of that is the ligaments, and hence they cannot be properly stretch the their legs, or that is the hands, or they cannot be fold properly hands and that is legs, whatever may be. Therefore, ligaments contains that is elastin character, that is a expansion and that is contraction property, which is another fibrous protein of capable of stretching of two dimension into one dimension. Two dimension means there is a stretching, no, that like. Then hairs, nails, feathers consist of largely of the tough insoluble proteins like keratins. These are the also belong to there is a fibrous protein, no, structure. Therefore, here repeating there is games. Their hairs, nails, the feathers, there is wings, whatever may be. They are largely present. They are tough, and due to having a very, even though that is light, that is the size will be small, but it having a very tough and insoluble in that is the water, and they are belong to that is a keratin. Silk fibers and spider web. The web, no, there is a spider is produces that is web, and that is the outermost that is the surrounding. The web is that is spider is present at the center, and he spread that is a web like or thread like structure around it, because it is make that is a protection. Any there is a protection will be takes place, like there is a silkworm also they produces the silk in the form of silk by that is a producing, that is a silk, like the web, no, like that Spider-Man also it produces that is a web like or thread like surrounding in, and he present that is safety inside, and therefore these are the made up by using a fibrion. Therefore the silk fiber and that is a spider web made up of fibrion, fibroin, fibroin, and these are all are belong to that is a structural that is a proteins. Next, fifth that is a class of this protein is antibodies. Antibodies is also called as a protective proteins. Protective proteins. These proteins defend. It protect those proteins which defend. It is present in the defend. These proteins defend organisms against invasion by foreign cells. Invasion foreign cells such as virus, bacteria, and foreign that is proteins from each other. Therefore, those proteins which are that is it fight against that is foreign species like germs, viruses, bacteria, whatever may be. It is just protective. It protect from the disease. When usually the microorganisms can be attack on that is human body or animals, but they can be protect from them. That can be killed or they cannot be allowed to grow inside. They can be killed, and that is called as it is a protective harm. That is a proteins. These are the antibodies are nothing but it should be a protective proteins which that is fight against the viruses, bacteria, or foreign proteins or other species, and they induce the immunity. The immune system produces protein called that is the antibodies. What is mean by that is antibodies means immunity power. Immunity power means it is a tolerate towards the particular that is the environment, particular against the species when attacking directly to the man or that is the animal, they can be stopped. They cannot be that is it fight against them and they kill that, and such type of that is a protein will be there, that is called as antibodies. Antibodies, this is the immune system immunity produced by the protein called that is the antibodies, which destroy the foreign cells or antigens. Antigens are nothing but other molecules. They are foreign molecules like a bacteria, viruses, that is germs. They can be attacked on that and make that is a it is became a parasite. Okay, therefore it induce the disease, but that cannot be after attacking. They cannot be these proteins fight against them and they kill, and they cannot be grow on it, and the disease will be it cannot be take. Therefore antibodies are the also called as immune globulins. Antibodies are also called as immune globulins. Each antibodies can bind specifically to one kind of the antigen. The antibody it is bind specifically particular antigen. Antigen is nothing but foreign species like bacteria, virus, whatever may be. They are going to attack. No, that can be attack directly. Suppose that is attacking means this will be a directly attack at particular species. Hence, large number of antibodies are circulating in the blood. Therefore, the antibodies present in the that is circulate in the body, and they cannot be that is a protect from the foreign antigen. That is a fibrinogen, and that is a thrombin. These are the proteins that are involved in the blood clotting and prevent loss of blood. Therefore, here suppose it is septic will be takes place. No, septic will be takes place. Then bleeding will be takes place due to present of that is in blood, that protein, that is protective protein will be there. That is a fibrinogen and that is a thrombin. These proteins are present involved in the blood clotting and prevent the loss of the blood. It after that is cutting, suppose it is exposed to the N1 that is a open atmosphere or air, or it is a suppose it dip into a water, immediately the cells that is opens, no, the veins will be cut, no, they will open, no, that can be closed by using a, due to that is a fibrinogen. And these proteins, when after cutting, no, the some there is germs will be attack on here directly, that can be killed, that can be prevented, that is protect from that is a foreign, and therefore it is called as a protective antibodies, protective, that is proteins. Again, snake genomes and bacterial toxins and toxic plants, plant proteins also serve as a protective functions. These are some, that is a some plants will be there, they are also toxic, no, bacteria also toxins, and these are the all are, that is a, it protects from that is a some disease and foreign species called that is a antibodies. And so far I have discussed in this session classification of the proteins based on the shape. Based on the shape, there are two classification I have explained. One is fibrous protein, and second one is that is a so that is a fibrous protein. Another one is I told that is what is that? Then composition of proteins, that is simple protein, derived protein, and another one is that is conjugated protein. Then biological functions, proteins, they are classified into, that is enzymes, hormones, transport agents, structural, and antibodies. With example, I have explained everything in this session. If any, I hope you have understand everything I have clearly mentioned. If any doubt, if please comment, you put your queries in comment box. I will clear in next session. Thank you.